The opioid crisis continues to destroy lives and families throughout the United States, and new data indicates that there are certain companies that are guilty of spreading opioids in specific parts of the country where addiction has been the worst. So West Virginia is an example of that. And here's the data that we just learned from a reporter from the Charleston Gazette-Mail. His name is Eyre. And he finds that between 2006 and 2016, out-of-state drug companies shipped nearly 21 million opioid painkillers to 2 pharmacies in Williamson, West Virginia, population 2,900.
No, those drug companies, they probably thought, man, those 2,900 people are in a lot of pain and they're really gonna need this. So the reason why that's a great piece of reporting by the Charleston Gazette-Mail and gives you context into how much the companies knew. They knew that it wasn't going for those 2,900 people.
Right.
They knew they were running pill mills, and they knew that that was for illegal distribution of those drugs. They also know that it's a gateway drug. Not marijuana, that was a lie all along. This is the actual gateway drug.
So there are a lot of different players in the opioid crisis. Of course, there are the pharmaceutical companies that encourage the overprescription of these opioids, but then there are the drug wholesalers that essentially ship out these painkillers to various pharmacies throughout the country. Now, the wholesalers that were guilty of sending or shipping the superfluous amount of drugs to West Virginia were Miami Lucan and also H.D. Smith. Okay, now if you want to take a look at how much of an impact this has had, if you look at West Virginia as a whole, for instance, from 2007 to 2012, drug firms poured a total of 780 million painkillers into the state, which has a total population of 1.8 million. Okay, you see the disparity there. A relatively small population, a huge flow of drugs being pumped into the state. Now, West Virginia has suffered by far the highest drug overdose death rate out of any state in 2016. The state's overdose death rate was 48.3 per 100,000 people that year. To juxtapose that to the number of deaths caused by car accidents were 15 per 100,000 people.
I want to just dive more into that. Homicides were 5.9 per 100,000 people. So if you take homicides and all car crashes, you put them together and double them, you're still nowhere near the number of people dying from opioid abuse. So they pick West Virginia to pour all these drugs in. They know that the 1.8 million people in West Virginia over 5 years are not going to take 780 million pills. They do that because they know it's a distribution center for illegal peddling of those drugs. There's no way those drug companies look at their internal numbers and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. I bet the people of West Virginia do need that many painkillers. They know exactly what's going on. And since West Virginia is the hub of that, well, if you're the hub, it hits you the hardest because it's everywhere, it's everywhere. And so those are stunning numbers. To get beyond car crashes for cause of death, that is massive. And now they are actually about 3 times the size of car crashes is opioid deaths in West Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, those were the numbers for 2016. The numbers for 2017 are not looking good. According to preliminary figures from the CDC, there were nearly 67,000 drug overdose deaths in the 12-month period through June 2017, up from more than 57,000 in the 12-month period through June of 2016. Now, of course, this isn't just West Virginia that we're talking about the country as a whole. So it's not just West Virginia that's suffering. Obviously, there are other parts of the country that are really, really suffering from opioid addiction, which, by the way, later, because of stricter regulations, turns into heroin addiction, because people are so badly addicted that they'll do anything to help with that addiction. And what I mean by that is the withdrawals are devastating.
So I just want to be clear about the last couple of things here. The basis for opioid medicine, it sounds like, well, it's opioid, it's prescription painkiller, it's legal, it must be okay. No, the basis is opium. The same thing that goes into heroin, same thing that's obviously opium. So just as dangerous as those illegal drugs are these drugs. We just made them legal and let corporations make gazillions of dollars in profit off of them. And then instead of drug dealers, they dress up in ties and suits and they peddle all this. But it is drug dealing, and it does get people addicted, and way more addicted than marijuana, not even close. And number of deaths from marijuana in that same time period, 2017, was 0. Number of deaths from opioids is 67,000. There's so many deaths from opioids in the country that for the first time since the 1960s, our life expectancy overall for the whole country has gone down the last 2 years on that alone. That's amazing.
Well, luckily we have an attorney general that is hyper focused on painkillers and going after these pharmaceutical companies, as opposed to states that have legalized marijuana for recreational use. Oh, right, that we don't have that. We have an ass clown. That's what we have.
So Jeff Sessions is going after marijuana, but worse than that, Donald Trump declared this a national emergency and then proceeded to not only do nothing about it, but has now gutted an executive branch program designed to combat opioid abuse, cut funding for it by 95%. They don't give a damn about you. West Virginia voted for Donald Trump more than I believe any other state in the country. And now he's just laughing at you. If you want to get the whole Young Turks show every single day, become a member, tytnetwork.com/join. And once you do, you'll be saying,
I'm like a smart person.
Or you might say,
I think it's weird.
Or you might say,
oops.
No, that won't be that one. It won't be that one. It'll be great, trust me. tytnetwork.com/join.